survivors were actually killed while clinging onto that boat? Should Secretary Hegseth, Admiral Bradley, or others be punished?
I think you're going to find that this is war, that these people were killing our people by the millions, actually, if you look over a few years. I think you're going to find that there's a very receptive ear to doing exactly what they're doing, taking out those boats. And very soon we're going to start doing it on land, too.
The Trump administration continues to be on the defense as a result of the backlash they're receiving from the potential war crimes that have been committed in the Caribbean. These alleged war crimes have to do with the fact that a fishing boat in September was not only struck by the US military, but afterwards, when there were two individuals who were essentially clinging onto the wreckage of the boat, it was clear that they had survived the first strike. The military ordered a second strike to kill the other two individuals, and that is considered a war crime. So you have the Trump administration, really changing their story, which I think is an admission of guilt. Hegseth denied ordering it. Then they tried to place the blame on someone else. So we'll go over that right now. But it is really interesting to see what's going on here, because I think for the first time in my adult life, I'm seeing politicians in Congress on the left and the right, not too many of them, let me just be clear, but enough of them to give me a little bit of hope that maybe Congress is waking up to the fact that ceding their power to the executive branch as it pertains to military action was a really, really bad idea during the aftermath of 9/11. So let's talk a little bit about what happened today, because something interesting did occur in Capitol Hill as a result of a bipartisan group of lawmakers who want to investigate potential war crimes being carried out by the Pentagon under Donald Trump. So this morning, lawmakers met with Navy Admiral Frank Bradley, and we've talked about him before. He is the individual who allegedly, greenlit the second strike in that September 2nd mission. And as he was meeting with these lawmakers, he apparently showed them the video footage, the full video footage of the operation, right? Because we've seen bits and pieces of the video, but the Trump administration hasn't really been transparent. They haven't released the full footage for all Americans to see. And according to Democratic Representative Jim Himes, the footage clearly shows that the United States forces were targeting survivors clinging onto the wreckage of the boat who pose absolutely no threat to American security. And that's, by the way, that is the important thing to keep in mind. Now, we talk a lot about the importance of due process. It's part of our Constitution. I think I would argue it's an important part of our Constitution. But you can carry out a strike like this if the individuals who are being targeted pose an imminent threat to our soldiers or to US national security. But that was not the case here. Remember, these fishing boats are not even capable of reaching the United States, which is why this whole argument that we're hearing from the Trump administration about how they're doing this to counter narco-terrorism is just completely ridiculous. But here's what Representative Himes had to say. He's a Democrat from Connecticut, saying that, "I reviewed the video and it's deeply, deeply troubling. The fact is that we killed two people who were in deep distress and had neither the means nor obviously the intent to continue their mission." And by the way, the other thing is, if they were narco traffickers who were dangerous and a threat to US national security, I mean, you could just share that information with the American people. Like, what's the data? What's the evidence? The fact that there's been no transparency here from the Trump administration is also part of the reason why so many Americans and even a bipartisan group of lawmakers are starting to get more and more furious about this. So in the Washington Post's original reporting, they indicated that Secretary of War Pete Hegseth ordered his subordinates to, quote, kill them all. Now, Hegseth denied it. And then later, during a White House press briefing, Caroline Leavitt confirmed it. Trump denied it. I mean, they just keep changing their story. But what's really interesting is the latest reporting indicates that Bradley decided to provide cover for Hegseth. So here's reporting from The Hill. The Admiral confirmed that there had not been a kill them all order and that there was not an order to grant no quarter, Heim said. He declined to provide further details. Leaving the meeting with the top lawmakers on the Intelligence Committee, Bradley declined to comment. I don't believe him. I think that Hegseth did say kill them all. And the reason why I say that is because, first of all, I mean, there's the changing stories that we've been hearing from various members of the Trump administration. Why do they keep changing their story? It looks like they're trying to cover something up. But I also think it's important to look at Pete Hegseth as a whole. And what I mean by that is, I don't know about you guys, I can't stop thinking about that email his mother wrote about him, the allegations made against Pete Hegseth by his ex-wife, allegations that he was abusive, that he was belligerent, that he had substance abuse issues, was an alcoholic. The actions that we're seeing in the Caribbean right now seem to line up with the type of temperament that we suspected that Pete Hegseth has. Now, this is an admiral claiming that there was no order. Again, I don't believe him, but he's an admiral. He's been in the military, for a while, and we've never heard anything bad about this guy. We've never heard anything about him carrying out war crimes. I mean, maybe he has, and we just don't know about it. But I don't believe for a second that this admiral is going to carry out a double tap that he very likely knows is a war crime unless the Secretary of War ordered it to happen. Now, I'm speculating here. Actually, our producer Alyssa is speculating, but I actually think this is great speculation. It lines up with what I would think. Now, why would he lie? Why would the admiral lie?
You know what TYT's always been about? Taking on the corrupt, greedy establishment. For us, it's the corporate media. We've been fighting that fight for over 20 years. For the cell phone industry, it's the same story. A handful of massive corporations ripping you off. That's why we're partnering with Noble Mobile. They're the only wireless company with the same mission as ours, to fight back. Their No Bull plan offers unlimited data for just $50 a month. But here's the best part. For any data you don't use, you get cash back. Real money you can spend however you want. Stop letting your unused data pad the pockets of billionaires. With Noble, you take control over your data. And by switching to Noble, you're directly supporting TYT in our mission of bringing you honest, independent news. So give Noble a try and make the switch today. Scan the QR code on the screen now or visit go.tyt.com/plan. That's go.tyt.com/plan.
So he might want to provide cover for Hegseth, sure, but maybe he has some sort of promise from the Trump administration that he won't get fired if he comes out and says that Hegseth didn't do anything wrong. He didn't order a double tap. Who knows? He could also be lying just to protect Hegseth and avoid the same fate as, well, someone who was pushed into early retirement, and that was Admiral Alvin Halsey. Let's talk about Admiral Alvin Halsey. Because back in October, Pete Hegseth unexpectedly announced that Alvin Halsey was retiring. Now, Halsey was the head of US military operations in the Caribbean, but now he's retiring less than a year into his tenure. So I'm sorry, Hegseth announced in October that he would be joining the Defense Department. But again, I mean, less than a year into his tenure, he's gone. And the move shocked several experts and lawmakers, mainly because of the fact that, during his confirmation hearing, he made it abundantly clear that his area of expertise was countering drug trafficking. And the Trump administration purports to care so much about drug trafficking, even though they just pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was very much involved in drug trafficking that negatively impacted the United States. That just happened, by the way. But Halsey said some interesting things during his confirmation hearing. So here's one statement. He said, quote, "My first deployment to the Southcom area of responsibility was over 33 years ago, conducting counter-drug missions," he told lawmakers at his Senate confirmation hearing in September. arguing for a more muscular approach to dismantle the drug cartels responsible for tens of thousands of American deaths. So Representative Adam Smith, who is the top Democrat in the House Armed Services Committee, stated, once it was announced that he would be retiring, never before in my over 20 years on the committee can I recall seeing a combatant commander leave their post this early and amid such turmoil. So what happened here? Well, the latest reporting from the Wall Street Journal indicates that he was effectively pushed out by Pete Hegseth. It began days after President Trump's inauguration in January and intensified months later when Halsey had initial concerns about the legality of lethal strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean, according to former officials aware of the discussions. So Hegseth really did make it known that made it known to Halsey that he just absolutely would not tolerate any questions or anyone within the Pentagon questioning his orders. That's another reason why I don't really believe that Admiral Bradley is telling the truth when it comes to the orders that Hegseth has been giving. But moving on. So Hegseth apparently told him after Halsey was confirmed, you're either on the team or you're not. When you get an order, you move out fast and don't ask any questions. This is not funny. This is scary stuff, right? Because we're literally talking about killing people in the Caribbean, just targeting fishing boats. I think Hegseth is completely unhinged. I don't think he's well. And I worry about, first of all, killing innocent people. I'm not convinced that we're actually targeting and striking people who are a danger to this country, number one. But I'm also worried about backlash. I'm worried about blowback. The way we're behaving internationally right now is really not the way you make friends. So, and he asked questions and objected to Hegseth's orders. So late in the summer, as the military began striking alleged drug boats, Halsey was initially concerned about murky legal authority for the boat strike campaign. And that's according to former officials. With other military units under separate chains of command also involved, including elite special operations units, Halsey objected that parts of the operations fell outside his direct control, they said. So even before the strikes began, Hegseth had allegedly lost confidence in Halsey and basically was actively looking to replace him. But here you have an admiral who has principles, knows what the international laws are, the laws pertaining to war crimes, and he decided to go the moral route. And it's pretty devastating that the person who is really the head of the Pentagon, our so-called Secretary of War, is just an unhinged lunatic who also fails to take responsibility for his own actions. It's not really the mark of a leader. It's the mark of a loser who is risking all of us to carry out his G.I. Joe fantasies. That's where we are right now.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.